I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Greetings. Hope you're all having a lovely Wednesday. Hope you had a nice Tuesday night. I did. I went 4-2. Was a fun one. I lost my only NBA bet, though. So I went 0-1 in the NBA. I had that Sixers-Raptors over. Real slow first quarter. There were a couple scoring bursts in there that made me think I had a shot. And in the fourth quarter, it was still alive. Did not get up and over the total. I needed overtime. Didn't happen because Embiid is terrible.
Guy
right now,
sucks.
I'm putting a right now at the end of the sentence because I know he's not terrible at basketball. But right now, I'm good with Embiid not being on the floor. And if you're a Sixers fan, you should be saying the same thing. That last possession was, I mean, it was straight up funny. He had open look from three. Now, granted, do you want to be pulling a three as the last play of the game down 2? I get it. But it was wide open. And he waited, did a hesitation, and then tried doing a behind the back dribble. Turned it over. I chuckled out loud. You hate to see it happen to such a nice city. So anyway, we got a lot of games on the board today. We got Mr. Kabang with us. Obviously, Chris is here. Obviously, there's 15 games. I have 4 bets. I think Ronald says he has 4 bets, and Chris said he had 3 bets. So we're going to do a lot of passing. If we each talked about all 15 games, this would be a 2.5-hour stream. So this first one is not one of the games I have a bet on. I kind of lean towards the Hornets at the plus 12.5. I don't know where the points are coming from because this offense is terrible without LaMelo Ball. But one thing that is true, the Hornets are 8-6 against the spread in their last 14 without LaMelo Ball. So even though the offense is terrible, what does that tell us? It tells us that the market is overcorrecting here when LaMelo Ball is not. Everyone knows the Hornets are terrible without LaMelo Ball. So the number is actually overcorrecting itself, and they're actually a little bit undervalued at times. I mean, we're talking about 12.5 points within a game that has a total of 202.5. So, I mean, if the Hornets get to 90, they should cover this number. So, yeah, it's Hornets are pass for me. Did not bet the game. Either of you guys?
I didn't bet the game, but one way that I was looking was actually the Magic's team total under. Magic, they're struggling to cover the spread right now, right? 3-11 straight up, 2-12 ATS in the last 14. Now you're asking them to cover, what is it? Is it double digits right now? Can't even see the line.
12.5 it should be.
Well, yeah, double digits, right? And then on the opposite side, you mentioned how the Hornets have been covering games, specifically this year, 2025, 11-6-2 ATS. They're actually doing it with defense too. They've held the last 5 of 6 to their team total under. Magic dead last in points per game on the season, just 103.9. Funny thing, you mentioned the total at 202.5. I looked at this season, games under 205, 2 games, both games involved the Magic. Both times Magic went under their team total. So that's the way that I would look in this one.
I like that too. Should be a super slow-paced game here. Chris, thoughts?
Hey, Gal, wanted to my horn, a little too much here, but I got some more CLV, baby. It's looking like some real sharp player prop type stuff over here. We'll see if it's prop beaver approved, but I bet Miles Bridges under on his points and assists, and I was just checking to see what the line it went to. 26.5 is still available. It's 25.5 on a couple books, and I played under 27.5 early this morning at -105 on ESPN Bet when this was actually favored to the over. And primarily it's because he's I think his number is overinflated because there's no LaMelo, because there's no Brandon Miller. So Bridges is going to be the guy that's got to generate all the offense for the team, and I don't think he's going to do that. He gets about 20% of his points from spot up. Orlando's number 1 defensively versus the spot up. 7th in transition defense, where he gets another 16% of his points. And in games where he's played 7 games this season versus teams that are top 10 in spot up defense, and they also play at a bottom 10 pace. Bridges is averaging 18.7 points in assists. So still a little meat on the bone. I think if people want to play this, he's hit the under in all 7 games. Like I said, I think it's a little inflated just because There's no LaMelo, no Brandon Miller, no anybody. And if they get blown out, he won't be in the fourth quarter. So under 27.5 points and assists for Mr. Bridges in this game.
One thing I can comment on with that is that when LaMelo's out, obviously the assist rate goes up a lot, but he really struggles to rack up the assists without LaMelo when Mark Williams is off the floor. The main guy who he passes to and he racks up those assists to is Mark Williams. When Mark Williams is off the floor and LaMelo's off the floor, we have really seen him struggle to rack up those assists. So I do like you including the assists along with the points as well. So, yeah. Let's
go. Prop Beaver approved, baby. Let's get it.
Next game. Another one that I don't have a bet on. I think the Pacers are going to win this one comfortably, but it's in a position where how could you do it? How could you lay 9.5, 10 with a team that's 1-5 against the spread in their last 6? They're not looking the same. The Pacers don't look right now. Then you add in the fact that Miles Turner's not going to play. He's not coming back till after the All-Star break. So it's like maybe the Pacers have packed it in until after the All-Star break, and maybe we shouldn't be laying points with them. Not to mention the Wizards are 5-1 against the spread in the last 6. So how could you lay 9.5 points with them? You can't do it, which is why I don't have a bet. No, Indiana. Which is why I don't have a bet in the game, because how could you lay the points with them? That being said, if you ask me, Kyle, what do you think is going to happen in this game? I think the Pacers win comfortably. I think they score about 130 points. So that's what I think happens in the game, but I couldn't do it because the Pacers, I'm starting to suspect that Indiana may have packed it in until after the All-Star break.
Listening to what you were saying, I thought...
No, I know. I was explaining why I couldn't bet it, but that is the side I like. I realized it was a little bit misleading. Kabang, you agree with me or no?
I mean, you kind of talk about it right there. Both teams kind of going in opposite directions. As far as ATS, right? Pacers, you mentioned 5 of the last 6 they failed to cover. Wizards, total opposite. 5 of the last 6 they did cover. That kind of tells you where the books are valuing both teams right now. I think for one thing that I did look at, Pacers as double-digit favorites on second or back-to-back. Not something that I would look towards. So kind of throw that away. This season specifically on back-to-backs, Pacers are 2-5 straight up in ATS. As road favorites, 5-7 straight up, 4-8 ATS. I think the value is on the Wizard side, but definitely not going to be putting my hard-earned money on them.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are going to be taking the Wizards here. Chris, what do you, let me guess. You on the Wizards, Chris?
You've never guessed me being on the Wizards and being correct. Absolutely not. Pass. I don't want anything to do with the Wizards.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
He would bet the Mystics before he bets the Wizards.
10 times, RZ.
Next game up is San Antonio, Boston. I promise I do have 4 bets, just we haven't gotten to one yet. It's tough because the Spurs have been scoring since inserting Fox into the rotation. The offense looks good. They have an offensive rating over 120 in the 4 games with Fox. So I trust the Spurs to score some points, but it is a tough matchup here on the road in Boston. I mean, what the Spurs like to do, get out in transition. Boston's excellent. They might be the best defense in the NBA against it. Celtics seem to be finding their groove. They're starting to look like the NBA champions. Personally, I think the Celtics are going to blow them out. I would be on Boston here, but this is not one of the games I bet, so I'm not going to sit here and ramble about it. I almost took the Celtics at 8 last night. Didn't end up betting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only reason why I would stay away from the Celtics is just how they've been at home this season, 9-17 ATS at home. One way that I was kind of looking at this one was the over. Spurs 10-5-2 to the over as road dogs. Celtics, 15-11 to the over at home. That is profitable. But if you look at the last 10 games specifically, Spurs 29th in defensive rating, 5th in pace. Both teams in the top half of the league as far as offensive efficiency. I think you mentioned some of the X's and O's, but Spurs give up the 3rd most points off turnovers. Spurs 2nd in the league in fast break points. There's like a lot of things that are happening here where either team could take advantage of, because I think you mentioned Celtics above the break 3 advantage is huge here. And then Spurs 12 of the last 14 games have gone over. So trends, the metrics, all kind of pointing towards the over here.
I completely agree, by the way, because I was back and forth between the Celtics -8 and Celtics team total over last night. So I'm on board with the over. As far as the total, I would definitely be on the over as well. Someone in the comments asked if Jaylen Brown's playing. He's still listed as questionable to my knowledge. I don't think that's confirmed one way or another. Chris, anything on this one?
I could definitely agree with both of you guys. Maybe we just play over since everybody likes the over. I agree with that. You mentioned Cal. I think Sacramento's offense is going to look a little bit. Still going to look better gradually with Fox being there. And I think Wemby is in a really tough spot today as far as his points and assists. I liked him up and over the last game. We talked about it, Cal. Him to get 30 plus, I think it was, against the Wizards. For as good as the spot that was, this is the absolute worst spot for Wemby. So I'm not going to get, like I talked about his points and assists under earlier on my show was 27.5. It's down to 26.5. Another sharp action that I did not play in this one. So I won't ramble on and on about it, but he's just in a really bad spot as far as where he likes to score points. The Celtics are really, really good. And I was also looking, if I was playing the side, I would be looking towards catching the points here, Kyle. You make a lot of great points with San Antonio not being able to cover number. I think this number for the Celtics, previous road win, come back home 0-8 in their last 8 games against the spread.
I feel like they're playing differently right now, though. I hear you. I know that this hasn't been a profitable spot to bet the Celtics as a whole this year, but the last 6-7 games, it seems like the champions are back.
So Kyle, 3 games ago, because they only went on the road for 2 games. They beat, who did they beat? Miami, and they beat another team. They beat Miami and New York, right? But the New York game was coming off a loss. You know who they lost to? They lost to the Mavs. You know when they lost to the Mavs? At home, coming off a loss outright by double digits.
Okay, so, I get that the trend still applies. I'm just saying in the last 7 games, Boston really looks good. And I'm not trying to – I get it. I didn't bet it, so I can't argue.
Me either. So we can go to the next one.
Yeah, let's go to the next game. My first bet is in the next game, one of my smaller bets. But I'm on Philadelphia team total over 106.5. In this one. I still think you can get it. You might have to pay minus 120 for it. But I think you can still get the 106.5. I know that I just lost on a Sixers over last night. Joel Embiid was playing, and he is just the anti-points for Philadelphia, man. He's the anti-speed. He's the anti-points. Now that Embiid's off the floor, I know, okay, so why is this number so low? Brooklyn's been playing a crazy slow pace, and they've actually been playing some defense. In fact, in the last 10 games, the Nets are first in defensive rating. So taking a team total over on the road against a team that's playing excellent defense and a team that plays a crazy slow pace, I get it. It sounds crazy, but this Sixers team, when Embiid's not out there, they speed it up. 106.5 is a low number. Also, the Nets have played a really easy schedule as of late, so I think their defensive numbers are definitely inflated. Take Embiid off the court, and I still trust the Sixers offense. Hopefully, we see some speed here. If I'm Philadelphia, speed the game up. Make the Nets run. So I took Philadelphia team total over 106.5.
So this one, Sixers, second of back-to-back, third and fourth and sixth. Nets with the rest advantage. Way that I was looking at it, though, was specifically Nets team total under. I think that's been super profitable on the year. If you look at the matchups this season, Philly has won at least both games by at least 15 points. Nets, when they're more rested, 10-4 ATS, but they do struggle at home. That was one thing that I was looking at, 10-15 ATS on the season, if I'm not mistaken. And then the reason why I was looking towards the under, team total under, Nets are 17 and I think 31 to their, or 20, 17-7-1, sorry. 17-7-1 to their team total under at home this season. And then specifically without Cam Thomas, 23-11 to their team total under. He's a huge part of that offense, and without him, they really struggled to put points on the board. They went under in their last 10 without Cam Thomas as well. So team total under on that side is the way that I was looking, because if you look at pace of play, I think both teams are in the last 10 games, bottom 6 in pace. So all that put together, I don't think the Nets could put points on the board.
What is the number, Ronald?
I actually have it open.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have team total page open right here. Brooklyn. You can get a 105.5.
I believe they're under that in 11 straight without Benny the Bull, Ben Simmons at home. Just saying. I know that because I cashed with them the last time I bet them at home.
So, what are your thoughts here, Chris?
It has been free, Cal. You remember it was like a week span where we just kept betting Brooklyn team total under at home, and it was just a cash cow. I think that RC, if we go to Moneyball, I think they're 17-2 to the under in the first half on their team total as well. I know they have the rest advantage. I know Philly is god awful. I want nothing to do with the 76ers at all ever in life. I parlayed this like a little personal play yesterday, RC. I played Fee in the one-on-one unravel. I took her minus 200, and I parlayed it with Philly money line. I was like, oh, Philly will win. They won't lose to Toronto, and they lost that bet too. So anyway, I digress. If I'm playing this game, Kyle, I didn't pull the trigger on this one yet. I'm looking at Paul George, and I'm looking under on Paul George because he's part of the disgrace that is the city of Philadelphia. Under his 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This dude is, so peep this, he's under his 16.5 points in 5 straight games. He's under his 4.5 assists in 5 out of his last 6. He's under his 5.5 rebounds in 8 straight games. I'm not sure what he's doing out there. Cardio, Fitbit, jogging around, trying to get 5,000 steps. But then when you look deeper, without Embiid, he's under his 16.5 points in back-to-back games, 3 of the last 4, under his 4.5 assists in 3 straight games without Embiid, under his rebounds at 5.5, and under in 5 straight games without Embiid. He scores 21% of his points as the pick and roll ball handler this season. The Nets are giving up the fewest points against the pick and roll ball handler. He also gets 18% of his scoring in isolation. The Nets are top 15 on that side of the ball as well. He's played in back-to-back games 2 times this season without Embiid. He finished with 11 points and 9 points. So yeah, a lot of reasons to like Paul George. There's a stat trend that's kind of circulating social media where he has done more podcasts than scored field goals. So yeah, Paul George under 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists, minus 125 is still available on DraftKings. I haven't put that in yet, but I will be on it.
You said Paul George is out there doing Fitbit.
I honestly might tell you, Chris, he has been great at home, horrendous on the road. So,
all right, next game. Next game's a straight pass for me. I have no opinion. The Raptors are healthy now, so I'm not really trying to lay. But I'm not really trying to fade Cleveland either. No thoughts on this one. No interest in betting it. Either you guys, Cleveland, Toronto.
Yeah, I got a potential look on a live angle. So Raptors second to back-to-back, third and fourth and 6. One of the things that I was looking at specifically was Cavs in the second half. Because if you look at both of these teams right now, Raptors and Cavs, both, I think, top 4 in ATS win percentage this season. But if you look at the Cavs, they are the more rested team as double-digit favorites, 17-0 this season, 10-7 ATS. If you look at the Raptors side, they're a great ATS team, but as double-digit dogs, 2-16 straight up, 8-10 ATS. So they kind of tend to struggle in that spot. Specifically, though, when I look at the numbers and the averages and all that stuff, as double-digit dogs in the second leg of back-to-back games, they tend to struggle in the second half more than the first half. First half margin is -4 on average. On the second half, it's almost -10. So if you could get a number like less than, maybe like an 8 or some shit like that, so maybe like a -8 or something, you could probably look towards the Cavs in the second half.
Yeah, you can get it 8.5 on FanDuel right now. I'm sorry. So you're saying you want to take the Cavs in the second half? I thought you were saying Raptors first half. Okay, so Cleveland second half. Interesting. All right. Chris?
Real quick, Kyle, so RJ got rolled in, and I was looking at the total like, man, I'm thinking this is gonna go up, and Jakob Poeltl's still out. So to me, that helps the offense and hurts the defense. This total was at 234.5. It's up to 237.5. So maybe I should have pulled the trigger there. I kind of feel like Cleveland should be able to score against Toronto, especially without Jakob Poeltl there. I could see Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
That's what I said last night, and saw the slowest pace, ugly. Nah.
Well, hold on. Cleveland wasn't playing. Oh, you mean against the Raptors? Against the Raptors, yeah.
It was every single possession for the Raptors. I watched the entire game. Every single possession was so slow developing.
Well, I told you that, Kyle, because that's how they played against Houston.
I'm trying to tell you this right now.
No, I get it. But RJ's back now. RJ's back, so they're probably going to be able to score a little bit more. So I guess I say all that to say I would lean over. I think Cleveland can name their number and be able to score. I think they're 7-0 on if their opponent is on the second leg of a back-to-back to the over. And I do think Toronto, even coming home on the second leg of a back-to-back, should be able to score as well. So I guess I lean over. We missed the best of the number, though. So we can pass next game.
Next. I bet this one. Now, normally when you place a bet, you're supposed to place it based on, like, if I take the Hawks at plus 8.5, which I did, that's the bet I have. It's because you're saying the line should be 5, right? So there's some value there because the line should be 5. I don't think there's anything wrong with the line. I think based on the production we've seen from these two teams in New York, I think the Knicks should be laying about this number, maybe even 9.5. So that's not really what the bet's based on. It's based on the fact that we're going to see the Hawks' best fastball here in Madison Square Garden. Hopefully, let me see. Make sure there's no injury updates here. Yeah, OG Anunoby listed as questionable. I don't think he's going to come back before the All-Star break. They're not going to play around with that. He has injury history. I know he keeps getting listed as questionable. I don't really think he's going to play. Also, Deuce McBride, like I said, listed as questionable. So as long as OG Anunoby plays, I think this game, as long as the OG Anunoby doesn't play, I think this game comes down to the wire, and 8.5 should cover. But like I said, it's not that I'm saying this line should be lower than that. I get why it's at 8.5. Just think this is going to be a back and forth game that comes down to the wire, especially if Anunoby's not in. So I did bet this on the Hawks at plus 8.5.
Yeah, I like that. I think one of the key factors is Knicks on the second of back-to-back and their numbers there. This season, 1-5-1 ATS on the second of back-to-back. Also, when they're less rested than their opponent, even if it's not on the second of back-to-back, 1-7-1 ATS. So they just tend to struggle in this spot when their opponent's more rested. Hawks have covered 8 of the last 9 too, so things are going in their direction. I think another way to look is the over. Hawks are playing a fast pace, first in pace the last 5 games, and their defense is struggling too. And we know the Knicks offense has been super efficient. That's the only reason why I stayed away from the spread. But I think the Hawks offense, like I said, they're kind of clicking right now. Over their last 6 games, they went over their team total in 5 of them. So Hawks or over, Hawks team total over, those would be the ways that I look in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I would also lean over. I will say this happens every single time the Hawks-Knicks play. The comments are flooded with Trae Young. His numbers against the Knicks aren't very good. They're actually below his season average. We went through this. But see, like a narrative like that from 3 years ago, people will bet Trae Young overs every single time. They could lose 7 in a row and be like, oh no, he'll go off against the Knicks. But yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I don't have much to add. I agree with everything you said, Kyle. If I didn't bet it, but if I was betting it, it would be plus the points, and it would definitely be a look towards Atlanta team total over with them being first in pace. Atlanta, I think RC mentioned them when being 1-5-1. The Knicks playing unrested. Also, if they travel, they're 0-2-1 against the spread. So they have not covered the spread if they're playing a second leg of a back-to-back with travel included. So Atlanta plus the points. Atlanta team total over, being that they are fast. They are playing pretty fast. Atlanta actually 10th in defensive rating the last 5 games as well. Like, I know they've been covering. I think you said 8 of the last 9, RC. Like, they're actually playing a little deep. I don't know if it's going to work against the Knicks, but if OG Anunoby is ruled out, I think Atlanta should be able to score.
Someone says, where's B-Felly? Trae Young actually doesn't kill the Knicks. I don't know where people are getting that from. It's from the playoff series because he went crazy in that playoff series.
Yeah, long time
I think
ago.
I think it's more so like when he's under pressure, or like the how much pressure is, the game flow, right, or whatever you want to call it, like in the playoffs or something like that. Something important, but during the regular season, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that he's bad against the Knicks, but his on the season, we pulled it up last time we talked about the Hawks-Knicks games. His season average are 23 points, 11.5 assists per game. That's his season average, 23 and 11.5. Against the Knicks in his last 8 games, he averages 20 and 10. So actually below his averages. So not that he plays poorly against the Knicks, but the whole Trae Young against the Knicks thing, that's from 2022. That hasn't been a thing in years. It's just more of like a social media narrative than anything else. Go ahead. Next game. Kings on the road at Pelicans. What the hell do you do with this game, man? How do you bet the Pelicans, but at the same time, how are you going to go lay points on the road with it? Not even close to a micro of interest in this game.
Not from a side perspective, but I do think that there might be some look towards the over. I think both teams are on the first leg of back-to-back games. Kings coming off of that OT game against Dallas a couple nights ago. I think from a side perspective, you look at the Pelicans, 3-15 straight up as home dogs, 10-8 ATS. The issue, though, they're just 2-9 ATS on the back-to-back. Then on the first leg of back-to-back games, and then on the Kings side, they're just 5-9-1 ATS as road favorites. So both kind of in bad spots. So like I said, nothing on the side, but the over. Last 10 games, Kings 25th in defensive rating. Pelicans dead last. Both teams play at a top 8 pace. And if you look at the Pelicans, they give up the most fast break points per game in the league. I think both teams get to the free throw line as well at a high rate. So that's like free points at the free throw line with a time stop. Both teams going, with a quick pace, getting those easy layups in transition. Neither team turned the ball over as well, so they're gonna maximize possession. So a lot of things kind of, to me, pointing towards the over in that type of game flow.
Probably we might have to reset the poll when it does that because I don't think they could see it. But all right, I mean, I can't argue with an over. Pelicans have been playing no defense. Kings haven't played defense since Obama was president. So I can't argue with an over. But like I said, I have no interest in betting this game.
Same. We can skip this one, Kyle.
Cool. Don't even hit start poll. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like Prop Beaver's going to join us. Prop Beaver says
I was not supposed to. So.
Oh, never mind. Prop Beaver's not.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not supposed to.
Prop Beaver's not going to join us yet. Prop Beaver is going to join us at one point.
Next game.
Next game?
Yeah, next game.
All right. So we're talking about Heat, Thunder, in Oklahoma City. The Thunder are currently on a warpath. They've won 6 in a row. They're 5-1 against the spread. They have, in the last 6 games, they have an offensive rating of 229. I'm sorry, 129. That's 129 points per 100 possessions. It'd be first in the NBA by a very healthy margin. Their defensive rating is a 105. So right now, the way the Thunder they've been playing the last 6 basketball games, on the full season basis, they'd be the best offensive team in the NBA and the best defensive team in the NBA. So Oklahoma City is peaking right now. And the Heat are doing the complete opposite of peaking. I mean, the Heat are almost fun to laugh at this point. I haven't heard from Esdot in 3 weeks for good reason. He's in hiding. He's waiting for the Yankees to start, man. Esdot's nowhere. Someone put out an APB on Esdot. Nowhere to be found. Team sucks. So obviously, can't bet the Heat. But can't bet Oklahoma City either. Why? Why, Ronald? Why can't I bet Oklahoma City?
Potential look ahead tomorrow.
Bingo.
To Minnesota. Damn, man, I could read your mind now.
Yep,
I haven't been on the show. I haven't been on the show for how long, and I still read your mind?
Yep, that's exactly it. Oklahoma City has a much more important game tomorrow night at Minnesota. Much more important. This game is bullshit compared to tomorrow night on the road at Minnesota. Again, Oklahoma City at 80% effort can probably still rout this bum-ass Heat team. But I'm not betting it because we have seen Oklahoma City punt on a couple of these. We saw them lose to a really injured, battered Mavericks team twice in a game where they were laying double digits. So we've seen this Oklahoma City team punt on a few of these games, and this very well could be one of those games. So it's a straight pass for me. Maybe an over, but I'm good.
So I did take a personal bet on this one. It's another obscure one. The third quarter on the Thunder. So a couple things that you mentioned, right? The look ahead there. I wanted to stay away from, a late game letdown, potential like backdoor cover on the Heat side. Reason why I can't back the Heat, obviously, first leg of back-to-back games, they really struggled in this spot. 2-7 ATS, 7-2 to the over. That's telling me their defense is really lacking in this spot. If you look at the Thunder as home favorites specifically, 28-1 ATS. This is the first game for the Heat as double-digit underdogs, so nothing there to share. But Thunder as double-digit favorites, I think if they're on the first leg of back-to-back games, 2-3 ATS, so 5-game sample size. But the biggest gap through all those games is in that third quarter, plus 10.2 in that third quarter specifically. And that line was -4 this morning. I think it's at 4.5 right now. But if you look at that, and then as double-digit favorites at home in general, so the larger sample size, it's still plus 6.1 in that third quarter for that margin. If you look at some of the things that point in that direction, I think the Thunder, they've been struggling to send opponents to the free throw line, right? But Miami, they're dead last in free throw rate in the last 10 games specifically. So the things that the Thunder struggle with on the defensive side, or like on the defensive side of the ball, the Heat can't even overcome those. So a lot of things pointing towards the Thunder, but to stay away from that backdoor cover, going towards specifically that third quarter.
Juice is in the comments. He says Tyler Hero under 6.5 assists. Juice, where do you even get a bet like that? I know you were up until like 4 a.m. handicapping college basketball because I was in the thread with you. Where do you get a Tyler Hero assist prop from, Juice?
He's a degen. I love it.
Chris, thoughts on this one? This should be a scorcher of a game.
Yeah, it should be. And it's crazy you said that because I was actually going to talk about Tyler Hero under his points and assists. The number is 27.5, I think it was. And it's the matchup, right? We know that this Thunder team is really good against the pick and roll. That's where he gets a lot of his points from. They're top 5 there, above the break 3, which OKC can give up sometimes, but they're pretty solid there as well. Second overall in above the break 3 as far as the shot zones over on Prop Madness. So, yeah, I just kind of feel like the offense is going to kind of go through them. I don't know if you guys saw the updated injury report, but yesterday one of the beat writers tweeted that Jaime Jaquez and Tyler Hero weren't going to fly out. They didn't fly out with the team yesterday, but then they caught a separate flight because both of them had an illness, and I guess they flew out. You would hope that they were going to play if they fly out, but then there was an illness going through the locker room as well. So Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier, I think, are on the injury report. Who knows who they sneezing on in the locker room? Like that, Bam might mess around and not play. So I think the safest bet here might just be a team total under for Miami. OKC at the crib, man. If I'm playing, I'm laying. Like I'm laying this number with OKC. I don't care about the spot for the Timberwolves tomorrow. None of that. This Miami team is like bottom 5 offensively, still trying to figure it out with Andrew Wiggins in there. Davion Mitchell's not a good offensive player. Like, I don't know how many points they're going to be able to score. Also, if you look at the travel spot here for Miami, they played 7 straight games where they've had to travel. They played 4 straight road games, went home for 1 beatdown against Boston where they lost by 30 and lost by 18, and then they're right back on the road. And it's the first leg of a back-to-back. This is a terrible spot for the Miami Heat. So, yeah, I didn't play it, but if I'm playing, I'm laying, and I'm looking at Tyler Hero to go under on his points plus assists together, 27.5.
Tyler Hero unders is popular, huh? Let's move on to the next one. And Prop Beaver is going to join us for this one. Milwaukee, Minnesota. I should have grabbed, if you guys watched the video I uploaded last night, I liked the T-Wolves at 6. Didn't bet it. It's now at 8.5. So would have been holding a couple points there. Let me see an updated injury report in this one. Just one second. Where is this one?
Game
well, I mean, that
downgraded.
probably explains. So Lillard is now questionable, but Conley and Edwards are questionable as well. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces here. Not even going to waste time talking about it. But Minnesota has been playing so much better. Milwaukee is, until Giannis comes back, we might have to put Milwaukee on the shelf. What are they, 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 without Giannis on the floor? So yeah, it's Minnesota pass, but I'm glad I didn't bet it, because if I did bet it, I'd be holding value now. Then if Edwards is ruled out, I'd be pissed. And rather, I'm just going to avoid all that and just roll with a straight up pass, Minnesota or pass.
Yeah, I saw the injury report. Lillard questionable, downgraded to questionable, Ant questionable, Conley questionable, Giannis out. I was like, nah, I'm out.
Chris.
Hey, Probably, did you hit Kyle with a
I did hit him with a Yeah, I did.
I thought so. That's why I started laughing.
Yeah,
it's a pass for me here. The one thing I will say is, with Minnesota playing so slow and potentially like no Anthony Edwards, I do think a team total under from Milwaukee specifically is in play. Without Giannis, like, I'm just not sure how they're going to generate enough points here. Minnesota they got their teeth kicked in against Cleveland the other day. So I do expect them to play a little bit of defense, to play at a slow pace. I'll be looking at a Milwaukee team total under if I'm playing anything in this one. Especially with it being so Milwaukee in that last game was 4th and 6 against Golden State the other night. This is still 7th game in 11 nights here for Milwaukee. I think they could run out of gas, especially this close to the All-Star game. Might pack it in early.
Okay.
And that's where I go.
The ultimate sign of disrespect is when someone does done talking. All right, Prop Beaver. Everyone's been waiting for you to grab the mic.
Yep.
So here we are, Bucks, Minnesota. Of all games for you to hop in and grab the mic, it's this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Modi approach. I'm just taking the 2 squares plays on the board for our props. No, I'm just kidding. I just remembered during baseball season, it's like, all right, we got Aaron Judge and we got Jordan Alvarez as our home runs of the day. It's like, oh, really, dude? Interesting. No, but he was great with those. So I'm just teasing Modi. I hope you're enjoying your 12th vacation of the year. So we've got 2 plays. We got Anthony Edwards and we got Damian Lillard. Now, Damian Lillard, he was added to the injury report. I don't know what's good with that. It was the same deal before the Warriors game. Dude went absolutely ballistic. I'm still comfortable playing it. if he's gonna go, he's gonna go. And without Giannis on the court, the dude's unreal. 6-1 this season. He's averaging 34 points per game, a 35% usage rate, and 37 minutes per game. In fact, going back to last year, now 17-3 without Giannis, averaging 32 points per game. So without Giannis on the court, this is already a must play for me. Now, if you look at guards against Minnesota overall, very tough defense, but if you're getting usage against Minnesota, you're going to have a very good time. I mean, 29% usage rate already this season. He's 12-1 to the over. If you look at 32 plus minutes and 30% usage against the Minnesota Timberwolves this season, last 11 to 14 guards to do so, they're over this number, averaging 32 points per game. Also, just guards against Minnesota in general having a good time. Last 11 to 15 to face the Timberwolves, over their individual totals. They're going over by a average of 2 points per game. So I like Damian Lillard in the spot to clear not only 26.5, but 27.5 as well. And then we're going with Anthony Edwards over 30.5. Edwards has just been a usage monster as of late. If you look at his last 3 games without Randall, we're talking about a 42.3% usage rate, just astronomical in those games. 49, 41, and 44 points. Now we're going to face the Bucks defense that just can't guard opposing guards to save their lives. They've allowed, like Minnesota, the last 11 to 15 to face them over their individual lines. If we look at high usage guards against Milwaukee, the last 15 to 20 to face them with 30% plus usage and 30 plus minutes this season are over their mark. They're averaging 34 points per game with just 32% usage. May I mind you, the guy has 42% plus in 3 straight games. With 32% plus, he's over his last 10 of 11. He's averaging 39 points per game. Add in the fact that 50% of Ant's shots are coming above the break, and the Bucks stink above the break. And we got to bet on the Ant-Man here. I know it's a bit of a stinky spot with them having to face OKC tomorrow, but I think you just got to bet the spot here. I mean, you just got to bet the matchup here, simply put.
Hopefully they play.
I know. Great sport we got here, huh?
Well, let's move on to the next one. And we got to pass the mic over to Mr. Kabang on this one because I agree with what he's about to say. It's disgusting, but I agree with what he's about to say.
Yeah, it's gross. I would look towards the Bulls here and also the under. A lot of the trends and spots kind of pointing that direction. I know on the season, the Bulls haven't been great on the second and back-to-back, but when both teams are on the second back-to-back, them and their opponent, they have covered and won in 2 of the 3 games. They went 3-0 to the under as well. So looking towards the Bulls and the under here. Pistons after a double-digit win, 4-8 ATS, 8-4 to the under. That backs the 2 plays there. If they're favored after a double-digit win, 2-5, 5-2 to the under. Specifically after a 20-plus point win, a letdown spot here. The Pistons are 0-2 straight up and ATS, 2-0 to the under. One of those games was against Chicago, so this is a second instance for the same exact situation here. When favored on the second leg of back-to-back games as well, Pistons 0-3 straight up and ATS, 2-1 to the under. These are just little spots here and there that kind of say that the Pistons are going to let down in this spot. And then specifically from an overall view, since 2018, this is a long-term trend that points towards the same situation, the Bulls and the under. But when 2 teams are on the second leg of back-to-back games and they play each other, the team that lost the first one, they typically win and cover the second game, and it goes to the under. But if you dive into it a little bit deeper, and then that the team that lost first is the home dog in both games, the win percentage and the under percentage get even larger. So backing the Bulls to bounce back, backing the Pistons to struggle offensively here, and look towards the under as well.
Copy, paste, Bulls. It's not one of my bets, but I really, really considered betting the Bulls here, strongly towards the Bulls. If I was to add another bet, it would probably be Bulls plus the points. Chris?
Next.
Oh, that's right. Chris is on a Bulls free diet.
Absolutely not for me. I do think Bulls early, though. That's the way I would probably back them early. They were down like 50 at halftime yesterday.
Immediately.
I mean, so first quarter money line, I think you can get probably like a plus 125 because they're like plus 1.5. That's the way I would play. It's 1,000 games on. I'm never betting the Bulls, even if we had a 1-game season. So I'm definitely not doing it tonight. But yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. If there was any other franchise in the NBA, I would say bet it, but not the city of Chicago. I feel about Chicago the way you feel about Philly. Yeah. So.
What, that it's a filthy place? Next
Chicago
up.
is a very filthy place. Yeah, with a basketball.
Depends on what side of the stadium you're on.
It's not so much the place itself; it's the people that occupy it.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix on the road in
It's the culture that consumes it.
Now, you said real quick. You said yesterday. You said Chicago, makes a lot of above the break threes. Detroit struggles. They were 1 for 21 from the 3-point line. So just when you think
there's an off night.
I was gonna say I was in the chat when you said that, and I was like, I think Levine had a lot to do with it because he was actually shooting really well from three with the Bulls, and then all of a sudden he can't shoot for nothing with the Kings. So it's pretty interesting.
Next game up. You guys don't want to know where I'm leaning.
Oh my God. Get help.
Nah.
You do need
no
to
way.
get help out. Don't tell me, Sagna. I'm with you. If Sengun doesn't play, I like it. But KD could get ruled out the last minute because I know you're thinking about doing what you were thinking about doing yesterday. I'm glad you didn't do it.
I'm thinking about doing something unholy.
Money line?
Yeah, I like the Suns. I think they win. I didn't bet the Suns last night, and I don't know. It's a disorder at this point. I like the Suns.
The Rockets do stink.
Kabang, you like the Suns?
No, not at all. I mean, like, all right. So they're the worst ATS team in the league, right? And there's a reason why you said yesterday. Every time you bet them, you lose, right? It's because of
that's why it's an illness. That's why it's an illness, right? RC.
That's crazy. All right, and then so you add to that fact, right? Second of the back-to-back, 2-8 straight up, 2-7-1 ATS, worst percentage than their normal. But Bradley Beal was upgraded to questionable, right? So maybe pointing in the direction of him playing. With him in the lineup, they're even worse, right? 10, 26, and 1 ATS when he's in the lineup. If you were gonna back the Suns, do it when he's not playing. Right, like
that's what RZ real quick. That's what prop people told him yesterday. He was like Bradley Beal being there Bradley Beal being out doesn't hurt anything. He's like he sucks,
Yeah,
and they still lost too.
Truly,
you guys just don't get it. So hold on. I don't have it set up. I was going to search how many times I've bet the Suns this year because I actually haven't bet them that many times. I've picked them on the show, but how many times did I actually bet them? Let's see. 1, 2. Okay, I have bet them a decent amount. All right, more than that. I'm not going to look through all that. But yes, Suns. I'm leaning towards the Suns here. Didn't bet this one. Next game.
Oh wait, Ronald, do you have a pick in this game or no?
No, he passed. He said.
Okay, cool.
yeah, pass.
Just want to make sure.
Portland, Denver. Shout out. Dog walk of the day for me the other night. This was my favorite pick of the night. Was Denver minus the points, and they won comfortably. Not going to bet this one. Personally, I think the Nuggets are about to do it to them again. But right before the All-Star break, the Nuggets got their shit together, right? The Nuggets are going into the All-Star break in high spirits. I believe they've now won and covered 7 consecutive games at home, kind of feeling like the Nuggets team that won the championship, that were just unbeatable at home. So if I'm a Nuggets fan, I'm feeling great right now heading into the All-Star break. You just beat this team. Things are great. It's kind of like a complacency spot for the Nuggets, if you ask me. How up are they for this one? They just beat the shit out of this team. All-Star break's freaking tomorrow. So I do think the Nuggets are about to beat the hell out of them, but I'm not going to bet it.
Real quick, I just saw the injury report for the Suns. Bradley Beal and Booker are out, so it was a great pass by probably all of us. But looking to this game here, so I think initially when Westbrook was out, the Nuggets were really struggling to figure out how to play their offense, to run their offense. But these two teams just faced each other a couple nights ago. You mentioned it. I think I was watching that show. You're talking about how the Nuggets were going to dominate, and they did that. 29 points, right? But I feel like they figured it out without Westbrook. They won 7 straight, covered 5 in a row at the same time. And then but if you look at the schedule, Kyle, they've been playing some scrubs like during this win streak. And the Blazers, they had a great run, but they've lost 2 straight by 18 and 29 now. I would look towards the Nuggets, but I will say, I know we're going into the All-Star break. They have another easy game coming right out of the All-Star break. Then they play the Lakers. And I think it's going to be a situation where they win, 9 straight, right? Going into that game. They cover 7 straight going into that game against the Lakers. And we might get a good number on the Lakers. So I'm already looking ahead.
Where is that Lakers game?
I think it's in LA. If I'm because I was looking ahead to the schedule.
I'll take over 260 in that shit.
But yeah, no, I think the Nuggets after the All-Star break are going to be overvalued because how they went into it.
I can see that.
So, yeah.
That's how I was feeling with Portland. Like their road games are against teams that were just resting everybody all in a row. That's how I was feeling. But I get what you're saying. It makes sense. Chris?
Nothing to add here. I'm not betting the game. Nuggets are 4-1. You mentioned complacency, Cal. If they're playing the same team that they just played, they're 4-1, straight up 4-1 against the number.
Okay, that's cool.
But the Portland Trailblazers have won every single game on the second leg of a back-to-back when they're playing the same team. 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread.
It's because the Blazers will play 20 games and they might see like 2 of the team's best fastballs. They get everyone's like who gives a fuck rotation. Let's move on to the next one. I bet both these last 2 games. This is the only one of my bets where the line moved against me here. I don't 100% get it.
Took over?
Yeah, I over at 236 and a half. I thought it would closer to 240. It moved down on me here. Don't 100% get it. I think the way this current Lakers team is constructed, Luka was questionable. Do we have an update on him? No, he's updated a problem. I mean, if you have LeBron James, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic on the floor, I think the Lakers are constructed to give you 125 every night. I mean, that's just, they're going to score. But the defense, I mean, we're repeating the same rhetoric that has been repeated over and over again since the trade. Where's the defense coming from for LA? They can score, though. And in Utah, a team that runs a fast pace, I don't understand where the sharp action came from that bet this number down to 235 and a half. Not seeing that. Market moved against me here. A little worried about that, but I am on the over in this one. I got it at 236 and a half. I really don't get what bought this number down personally.
Yeah, I lean to the over too. I was expecting it to go up in the morning as well, but I mean, I think they flew over the total the last time these 2 teams played. Since Luka's in, I would definitely look towards the over. I mean, I think it's the only reason why initially I didn't was because he was questionable last night. But I think the Jazz have gone over in 4 straight games as well. I mean, if you watch that game with the Lakers with Luka in the lineup, I think it really opened up the court, right? Just being able to have both Luka and LeBron open up the court for that Laker offense. And I think they just continue to do that in this game here, especially against a Jazz team that isn't great defensively. They are getting healthier, though, so that's why their offense is clicking a little bit. So I might actually get there to the window with the over.
I like it.
Yeah.
If this line didn't move, down, I would have came on here and been like, this is one of my favorite bets of the night. Though obviously the market moves against you, it's never something you'd like to see. I still think it's a good bet though.
But so yesterday I had the Raptors +8 and it got to 11.5. Like the number doesn't matter sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, if you like a bet, you should remain confident. I agree with that. Chris?
The reason why we shouldn't like this bet here is because the Lakers defense is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. 8-1-1 against the spread. Come on, Cal. We have to give
the Lakers
credit.
Then. Take the Lakers then.
I'm not taking
the Lakers
against the under because I'm with 3. You. I like over. I'm just saying, Cal. It is the big 3. You're right. And they're at home, off a revenge game. I agree with that. And that could be pushing the total under as well. The Jazz have only played 2 teams back-to-back this season. That game did go over. One team, and that game did go over when they're playing back-to-back. The Lakers have only played one other team in back-to-backs this season as well. That game did go under. But what if we are thinking that – I'm trying to make case for the under, right? If we're thinking, all right, Luka he's on a minutes restriction. I think he only played 24 minutes last game. The defense is going to be better with him off the floor. Where should the Jazz look to score the basketball against the Lakers? Probably inside the paint, right?
In the fast break.
But they're not. But the Lakers' transition defense has been excellent. They're top 5 defensive rated team last 5 games, 4th in defensive rating.
Bro,
we talked about this. They're giving up 105 points. I don't want the Lakers. I want the over like you. I'm just trying to make sense of why it's coming down. So that's my point and why it's coming down. The Lakers have been great defensively. You look it up, Kyle. We talked about this. 10 games since they lost. Anthony Davis got hurt against the 76ers. They're giving up 105 points.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, are you really buying into Are you buying the Lakers defense? You're buying Lakers defense stock right now?
No, I'm not buying it at all. But I'm just saying that could be potential why it's coming down. I want over 2. I agree with both of you guys. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Let's move on to the next one. over across the board. This is probably my favorite bet in terms of if you put a gun to my head and said, what bet of yours is the most highest percentage of winning? I'd say this one. Problem is the line's long gone. I got Golden State at 4.5 last night. I still like it. I still like it at 6.5 though. If you didn't get it, obviously I like the 4.5 a lot better. 5 and 6 are extremely key numbers in the NBA. But I think Golden State wins this one comfortably. Want to talk about lack of defense? Why don't we talk about the Dallas Mavericks with no front court? Do the Mavs have anyone? PJ Washington is listed as questionable, and he is capable of playing. Yes, he's still listed as questionable, but there's no Anthony Davis. There's no Daniel Gafford. There's no Derek Lively. There's no Dwight Powell. There's no Caleb Martin. Anybody on this team that stands taller than 6'8" is not playing in this game. They have no front court whatsoever. Golden State's been a top 10 rebounding team all year. They've had their problems, Golden State, but they can rebound. They should absolutely dominate the glass on both sides of the floor. Look, are we buying into the Warriors offense with 2 games with Jimmy Butler? Probably. I mean, it's a 2-game sample size. But they have an offensive rating of 126 in those 2 games, 2-0 against the spread. The offense looks great with Jimmy Butler against a Mavs team that's playing the shittiest defense in the NBA right now with all the injuries. Until they get Gafford, Lively, Anthony Davis, until they get these guys back on the floor to protect the basket, it's just an all-you-can-eat buffet line here against this Mavs defense. Now, Kyrie, I mean, they're going to be able to score points on Golden State, but I don't see how they make stops. So I think the Golden State should get there. Like I said, obviously I like my 4.5 better, but even if I didn't have a bet down, I would probably still take this at 6.5 if I'm being honest.
So I was looking towards the over in this one. Both teams on the first of back-to-back. Mavs coming off of that OT game against the Kings. There was one game this season the Mavs went into OT. The following game, they went over by double digits. Last 10 games, both teams struggling in defense. Mavs 28th in defensive rating, Warriors 20th. Mavs over 9 of the last 11. Warriors also over 9 of the last 11. Both matchups this season between the two teams, their pace of play in that game was above their season average. So they just tend to play in that type of pace when they go against each other. Here's one thing, the reason why I stayed off of the Warriors, Kyle, you mentioned the injury report. Obviously, all the bigs are gone, right? If the bigs are gone, teams take advantage of the paint. The Warriors, the last 10 games, 28th in paint attempts, right? 26th in paint field goal percentage.
Yeah.
They're not the type of team to take advantage of a smaller, front court. So the only way that they would be able to really cover this, I think, would be from 3. But they've been struggling last 10 games from an efficiency standpoint from 3. And that's the reason why I stayed away from the Warriors. But for the most part, I think with Butler, they are going to get to the free throw line a ton. That stops the clock, extra possessions because neither team really forced turnovers. So that's the reason why I would look towards the over.
Okay, so I agree with what you said. I was looking more towards, they may miss some shots. They're going to get every offensive rebound in the book here. That's what I was more looking towards. And I agree with the over because my original look in this game on YouTube, I said Warriors or Warriors team total over. So I was looking the same direction there. Chris, you said you agreed with me, right?
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, real quick, RC, I think Jimmy is the guy that's going to take advantage of them, like being able to score in the points in the paint. So I did look into that as well because you mentioned Golden State. All they want to do is shoot threes, but I think they can win the game by multiple possessions here. Just 2. All we need is 2. I grabbed the 4.5 last night.
Let's move on to the last game. This one's actually a pass for me. Then we'll get into some college basketball. We got good college basketball tonight too. It's a loaded night. So the last game is Memphis Clips. Obviously, you got Memphis on a back-to-back, right? They just won last night against a tough game down to the wire against those Suns. I kind of wanted to take Memphis here, plus 4.5. The Clippers haven't looked all that great. The defense hasn't really been there, and this is a team that's like anchored by its defense. I was looking towards Grizzlies over or Grizzlies team total over. Couldn't get anywhere. You could just put the Memphis plus 4.5 up for me, but I didn't bet this one. That's just where I want to get to. I don't care about the back-to-back. I'm kind of selling my stock in the Clippers right now.
John Morant downgraded to question.
Not the Suns, though, huh, Cal?
No, I'm holding on to the Suns. That's Bitcoin right there.
What'd you say, Beaver? What was that?
John Morant downgraded to questionable.
Oh,
is he? That's a good or a bad
Take
thing.
it off. Take it off.
All right, so I was looking towards actually the opposite. Kyle, I was looking towards the Clippers and the over here. Obviously, I think people are going to bring up the Grizzlies on the second of back-to-back. I didn't know that Ja was going to be downgraded, but so Grizzlies on the second of back-to-back, they do look really great from an ATS perspective, but this is their 8th straight game with travel now, right? So travel fatigue comes into play as well, in my opinion. The Clippers have a significant rest advantage too. I think there's like a 3+ day rest advantage. At home as favorites, the Clippers are pretty good from an ATS perspective, 13-5 ATS. The Grizzlies, an over team as road dogs, 12-2 to the over this season. One thing that I looked at specifically with the rest advantage though, home favorites with at least 3 days of rest advantage since 2020, 26-8 to the over in the regular season specifically. That's a really high hit rate on that over. And then if you look at the last 10 games from a stat perspective, the Clippers defense is a little bit better than the Grizzlies. And I think one of the things that the Grizzlies do well is grab offensive rebounds, right? Second chance points. But the Clippers actually do a great job in defensive rebounds, limiting those second chance opportunities. And then one way that I think that the Clippers will take advantage of this Grizzlies team, the mid-range. The Clippers are a mid-range team with a bunch of guys that could score at that in that area, while the Grizzlies are actually one of the worst teams at defending the mid-range. So that's the way that I looked at it and why I think the Clippers should be able to put up points against the Grizzlies here.
We can agree on the over because I was leaning towards over as well. Chris, Clippers,
Same.
Grizzlies.
I just agree on the over. I agree on the over, especially with the Grizzlies playing so fast. The rest advantage, we don't see like 3 days of rest compared to 0 often. Like I think it's only happened twice this season. So I do think that the Clippers should be able to score at the crib in this game. So this is not anything that I played though. I do lean, especially without John Morant probably not playing. I lean probably just the Clippers team total over because I think that they'll definitely be able to score.
Cool. So let's get into college basketball real quick. Do you want to clear the board? So actually, Ronald hasn't been here in a few weeks. So for those of you that don't know who this is, Ronald, want to tell them where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, you see my, you can see my hashtag, or not my hashtag, my
Twitter,
username right there on Twitter. Then also, I know Ski comes on the show a lot. Myself and Ski have a show every Sunday through Thursday on YouTube called Ahead of the Spread. We do it at 10 p.m. Pacific at night. So it's a late show so that people can get ahead of the spread, basically, ahead of the line movements and stuff like that. So we even make bets during the show sometimes and stuff like that just because we want to take advantage of what we're seeing as the lines are moving. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, check that out. We use themoneyballer.com, Killer Sports, all that stuff. We show you how to use it, screen share and all that stuff. So interested in that stuff, check us out.
Yeah, that starts basically right after our midnight college basketball show. So ours starts at midnight. Theirs starts at 1 a.m. Eastern time. So you could skip right over there. They go through the NBA slate for the next day. And Chris, you actually just disappeared. I can't see you, but I know you're still here. So real quick, if they don't know where to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Morning time, man. Wake that ass up with the Crispy Capping Show. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, man. Come through YouTube at Crispy Capping, 2 P's, 2 N's. Don't forget that last N.
You should change the name of the show to Wake That Ass Up.
Wake that ass up and bet.
All right, guys, enjoy your day. Let's get to some college basketball. Let's get Toast on the screen. Let's see what Toast has to share with us. A lot of good college basketball tonight. A lot of good college basketball last night. And Toast, low-key, flying under the radar, has strung together a few winning days. He doesn't want to talk about it.
I can show you the world.
Beaver.
Real quick, before we get into it, pull up the standings, please.
Okay.
I don't want to get accused of not showing it.
Damn, I gotta
when I dropped, I had a rough one in the. I actually had a 4-2 night betting, but my league picks didn't do good last night, so I don't want to get accused of only showing the league when I'm doing well. I did drop down in the standings.
Has somebody accused you of that already?
Oh yeah,
I did.
Oh my
Me.
God.
I did.
Yeah, yesterday. I was like,
So
what
yeah,
is this?
Poppy was pulling it up.
I was like, huh, very peculiar.
So yeah, I if you could see in the Hudson River division, I'm down to 6 now. Plenty of time left in the week though. Timeline is really running away from that. Miranda, Secret Sharp is up in first place. VFL and Scoop Chase and Tinker, Kuzmaville is a loaded division. Same with Fruit Roll Up.
Not nearly as loaded as Fruit Roll Up.
Yeah, Fruit Roll Up also loaded. So, all right, let's get into some college basketball. First game up is a huge one. St. John's Villanova. I'm taking a quick piss break. You can put Villanova up for me, probably.
Yeah, I lean Villanova as well. I haven't actually bet it. I'm actually kind of waiting on 3 or at least 3. That's for sure. I would want 3 with Villanova here. It's just really hard for me because I again, like I talked about last night on the show, I've been accused as a St. John's hater. I was really big on them coming into the year, and I just really didn't like what I saw from them as the year has transpired. I understand that they continue to win, but they're horrible at shooting. But defensively, they've really been impressive, and that's kind of where I'm starting to pump the brakes, as they would say, on my hate for St. John's. But I don't really like them in this game. They're just coming off of 2 very difficult games for them in Marquette and UConn. They won both those games. Very impressive. Again, not trying to knock what they have here, but now they have a little bit of a sleepy spot on the road against Villanova with Creighton at home, Creighton off a loss on deck. Like I said last night, if Villanova is going to stay in this game, they're going to have to play solid defense. And to do that, they're going to have to slow this game down offensively. And I think they can do that. I think they have guys offensively that should be able to get some shots against this very good St. John's defense. But if Villanova can control the game and make St. John's uncomfortable playing a very slow, methodical pace, I do think that Villanova is going to have some advantages here tonight. So on top of that, we have a total that's under 140 and a game that the books are telling us are going to be less than a possession. And like I said last night, you have the best free throw shooting team in the conference against one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the conference. So, and on top of that, Villanova is the best three-point shooting team in the conference too. So if they were to get hot at home, I can see this game staying close. So I lean Villanova. If it hits to 3, I've already committed that I will bet it because I missed the original number when it came out. But if Villanova gets to 3, I will bet it for half a unit.
Yeah, Villanova pass for me. I'm not betting it next. Not betting this one either. I don't know. I was leaning South Carolina initially, but I feel like you guys both made compelling cases for Ole Miss on the midnight. So this is a straight pass for me because I kind of like what you and Trevor said about Ole Miss last night.
Yeah, I lean Ole Miss here. I didn't bet them. It was 4.5 when we talked about it last night. It's 5.5 now. Again, I don't really like. Trevor will tell you the same thing. That 5.5 number is kind of like a voodoo type of number in college basketball, laying 5.5. But I do think that Mississippi is playing a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I know that South Carolina is good, but they had Ole Miss had a 3-game stretch where they lost to Mississippi State in overtime. Then they played Texas A&M at home. They lost that game. Or, sorry, Mississippi State, they lost by 3 in overtime. Texas A&M, they lost by 1 in overtime at home. And then they went on the road to Missouri, who was playing really well, and they lost that game by 8. And then they rattled off wins against Kentucky, LSU, and Texas with a loss to Auburn in there. But like we touched on the other last night, the game against Auburn, they lost that game, but they played really well. I mean, most teams that play that way against Auburn are going to win a lot of basketball games, like 95% of them. Mississippi played very well in that game. Auburn is just the best team in the country, and they showed why. They were hitting three-point shots whenever they needed them. Anytime that Ole Miss would go on a run, Auburn would hit that three-pointer. I don't think that South Carolina is going to be able to do that today. Again, South Carolina really bad on the road, very good at home. You can go through their home schedule, and I think the only game that really got away from them was the Alabama game, which we know Alabama seems to do that to some teams. So a la Texas last night. So I agree with Trevor. Trevor said last night that one thing I didn't think about is that this is like they're not going to lose South Carolina. That means they're not going to lose every game in the conference, most likely. Not that this is their best opportunity, but it is a home game. So I lean, like I said, I lean to Ole Miss here. I think they're the much better team, and I think that South Carolina is getting a lot of love for how they've played at home. But I do think that Mississippi defense and their offense that's starting to kind of click a little bit is going to be a little bit too much. So I didn't bet it though, but it's a very heavy lean to Ole Miss.
Yeah, probably lean the same way, but we can move on to the next one. And I'm a little worried here. I know you bet it. I was going to bet it last night. This line's just sitting at 5.5, and I think Oklahoma State might be a public dog, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really care either way, to be honest.
You could put Oklahoma State up for both of us. Toast actually bet it, though. I didn't.
Yeah. for me, it's just, even if they were a public dog, it's one of those situations. As I like to say, in what world is TCU a 5.5 point favorite against anybody? I know that they had a win against Colorado. Colorado's absolutely terrible, and they caught West Virginia in a bad spot. I think Jamie Dixon was going for like his 200th win or some BS like that. I don't remember what the number was. It doesn't matter. But then they went back and they got absolutely slaughtered by Iowa State. But my point to all of that is that Oklahoma, I don't feel like Oklahoma State has been playing really bad. I mean, you go back all the way to the middle of January. They lost to Utah and BYU on the road, which is a not easy thing. This is not a team that's used to traveling to elevation. They had to go play both those games in elevation. They lost both those games, but then they come home and beat Colorado. They lose at home to Arizona. They go on the road and play a close game at Texas Tech. They go on the road and get shellacked at Kansas State, which again, that's 3 more losses. But how many teams in the country are going to have a good record when they play those 3 teams? They go beat Utah. They lose against Houston. They beat a banged up Arizona State team. They slaughtered Arizona State. Yes, Arizona State was banged up, but it is what it is. I just think that Oklahoma State is playing much, much better basketball than TCU here at home or on the road. I don't really care. TCU has a little bit of a size advantage, but Oklahoma State has done a pretty good job of rebounding the basketball this year. So I don't really put too much stock into the height advantage. So I really like Oklahoma State here. If it's a public dog and TCU wins by 10, they can have my money, but I really like Oklahoma State here. I think they could win this basketball game.
Let's move on to the next one. And the next one, Knowles up. I got this at +7.5. I think you could still get a 7. It's either 6.5 or 7, depending on your sports book. So yeah, Knowles are winning this game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I'll go out there and say they're going to win this game, but I do think that they're going to keep this game close, and I don't think that Wake Forest should be laying this many points to anybody right now. Wake Forest is a team that I know that they've won 3 games in a row, but you can really kind of nitpick those 3 games. I mean, to be dead honest, besides the Cal game, which they kind of controlled for the most part, the Stanford and the Pittsburgh game, those could have been both losses, and the North Carolina game could have easily been a loss too. So again, they found ways to win those games. Hunter Silas looks fantastic in a couple of those games. He couldn't be stopped. But now they face a Florida State team. Now Wake Forest is coming back from the West Coast, something that they haven't had to do. And now they're facing a Florida State team that's way, way bigger than them. And honestly, I don't really think that the Wake Forest offense is much better at all, if any, than the Florida State defense. Or I'm sorry, the Florida State offense. So I think offensively, both these teams are very similar. Does Wake Forest have a little bit better defense? Yeah, but I think that's where the Florida State size comes in. Again, I don't think that Florida State's probably going to win this game like Kyle does, but I do think that they're going to keep this game close. This is like a 2-possession game at max for me. So the one thing that Florida State doesn't do is shoot three-pointers well. Wake Forest does the best job in the conference of defending it, but I think that Florida State's just going to be able to eat inside here today, and they can hit their free throws. So I just think that coming back from the West Coast and a Wake Forest team that's been winning games, but very, very luckily, kind of like Arizona, how I felt about Arizona last night going up into Kansas State, is exactly how I feel about Florida State today. So Florida State +7.5 for sure.
This is probably my favorite college basketball bet. That being said, I have 2, so it's my favorite of 2.
That's okay.
Now we get to everyone's most anticipated segment. It's the buzz of sports betting YouTube. Kyle Kirms, fake sharp play of the day. Providence, I'm declaring, is the fake sharp play of the day. Xavier is the move here. You're going to see guys like Toast, guys like Trevor Vandenbosch come on and try to sound smart, try to say things like the dunk. I should have bet this -1.5 last night. I didn't, because your stupid ass dunk speech that you guys gave. I should have bet this last night. It's at 2.5. I still might bet it. If I was to place a third college basketball bet, it would probably be the Musketeers here. They're significantly better. Providence isn't very good. Have you seen their mascot? It's disgusting. I couldn't even believe that.
I'm not even going to respond to that.
So yeah, go ahead. Talk about the dunk.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. We have Providence at the dunk, as Kyle said, as a bet on spot for me, no matter what. They've looked really good so far this year. They had a 2-point loss to St. John's, a game they could have won. St. John's won that game on a last-second tip. They got slaughtered by Marquette, but they beat Butler, they beat Seton Hall, they beat Georgetown, and then they lost to Creighton, which that game kind of could have went either way. I really think so. Creighton kind of pulled away at the end, but I just don't think that Xavier should be laying points on the road to Providence like this, or I'm not in a comfortable laying points with them personally. So they've beat up on some of the bad teams, just like Providence has. But again, on the road, they haven't really been special. On the road, they won a 2-point game at Marquette. They beat DePaul, and that was pretty much it for them. They looked pretty bad on the road. So it's just really me not trusting Xavier on the road, and you get Providence at the dunk in a really good spot for them after losing 3 straight. And by the way, the 3 games that they lost was a 2-point game to St. John's on the road. St. John's is obviously a very good basketball team. We can all agree. Creighton, whatever you want to call Creighton, I think they suck, but they're a decent basketball team. A lot of people like them. They lost that game by 11, and then they lost a 1-point game to Butler. So, I just think that it's really hard to beat this Providence team by multiple possessions in the dunk. And if you're I got Providence at +3, and so yeah, I think that getting a full possession at home is well worth it for me. So yeah, Providence +3.
Next, I bet this one. Dog walk of the day. Buckeyes in a dog walk. It's going to be a public dog. It's going to take Washington. This team sucks. Ohio State is one of the best players in the conference. He's a freshman, number 0 point guard named Mobley. Ohio State runs away with it. As long as the outside shots are falling, this is a 15-plus point victory. Buckeyes up. Dog walk of the day. This is my second bet. This is the second college basketball bet I placed.
I can't really argue it. I leaned Washington on the number just because I don't really think that Ohio State should be laying that many points. But that said, they beat Iowa at home by 20 some points. They beat a Maryland team that's 5 times better than Washington at home. They lost to Indiana by 1, but Indiana just seems to figure out ways to play close games and then lose it. So I don't know how they ended up losing that game, but they played Oregon close. So I'm not at a point where I just want to lay over a full 10 points or more with Ohio State. But I do agree that this line is probably kind of telling. So Ohio State's played one of the hardest schedules in the country as well. So they've been tested at pretty much every road stop they've been placed at. I don't know. I just feel like Washington isn't playing as bad as people make them out to be. Again, they kind of went through the gauntlet of Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, Oregon, and UCLA. And then they had a really good win against Minnesota. They got beat up by Nebraska, but Nebraska is Nebraska good now? 4 or 5 games in a row? Is Nebraska a decent basketball team now that Bryce Williams is playing out of his mind? I don't know. And then Washington goes on the road and beats Northwestern. So, again, I know Northwestern's shorthanded, but I just don't feel like Washington's been playing as bad as people make them out to be. They're a bad basketball team. I just don't think they're playing as bad as people make them out to be. So, keep in mind, Washington also beat Maryland. So, it's not like they're just absolutely terrible. But, yeah, I lean Washington on just the number alone. Didn't bet it.
Ohio State did bet it. Next. Last game up, LSU, Arkansas. I don't know.
Just the line's gotten out of control. I would have loved to play Arkansas at 7.5 or 8.5, whatever it's dropped. I guess it's 9.5 now, so it's not that bad. I lean Arkansas. I haven't bet it. I think it went to 10.5 when we were on the show last night. And I think it must have came back down to 9.5. Maybe I could be wrong there, but regardless, Arkansas has been playing very, very well so far lately. And I know that loss to Alabama, it is what it is, but that was only a 4-point loss, and they really tried to come back in that game. Probably could have won that game the way that last 10 minutes went. I think they won the last 10 minutes of that game. They was like 33-21 or something like that. So they really played well to finish that game. They just couldn't finish it off, but they beat Texas, Kentucky, and Georgia. They lost a 3-point game to Oklahoma. And now you have this LSU team that's been pretty bad on the road. Essentially a 20-point loss to Georgia, a 7-point loss to Alabama, over 10 points to Mississippi, Missouri over 10 points. It's just been really bad for them on the road. So if this game was in LSU, maybe a bit of a different story, but I do think that Arkansas should win this game by 10 plus, because the games that they have won at home, they've done pretty well at. So again, I don't know. It's Arkansas or pass for sure.
I don't know. I like LSU, but this number seems crazy high.
I agree with that. I can't tell if it's almost like they want you to bet LSU. Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, but it's almost like they want you to take the points with LSU because you're going to feel good getting a whole bunch of points against this Arkansas team. I just think that Arkansas is starting to figure it out a little bit.
Clearly, there's sharp action coming in on the Arkansas side, betting this number up, and I don't get it. I mean, Trevor is definitely meat riding Arkansas pretty heavy. I don't know. I want to bet the Tigers. They're a feisty team, but I'm not going to do it. All right, let's do. Do you have an underdog for today? No, probably not because there was the crazy
I know
slate.
there's a million.
Let's do a community parlay then, real quick, because we're going to take a. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Dude, I'm singing.
All right, let's do a community parlay for today. And let me know when the poll's ready. All right, first poll is going to be Magic money line.
Okay.
Pacers money line.
Okay.
Celtics money line. This is heavy favorites, man. And Cavs money line. This is not really giving them any good options, but those are the first 4 games on the board.
Beaver, I played Anthony Edwards and Damian Miller each to score 30 points because of you. So
I mean, dude, I like it.
we ride.
Without Giannis on the court, it's just the point guards duking it out for the Bucks. That team can't defend point guards to save their lives, and Damian Lillard just has like a freaking 35% usage rate. So just the point guards duking it out. So
Helm says, Kyle, why no mid-major games? Oh, well, because I've been on camera like 4.5 hours of the last 12. Like, dude, running on about 4 hours sleep. I would love to cover more, man. This is my best fastball. This is the best I can do.
This is my best fastball.
Trying is fucking fast.
You can hit it. Go ahead, buddy.
So yeah, what's that poll looking like?
That is Celtics money line.
Celtics money line.
I also played Southern Illinois plus 8.5, and I also did a 3-teamer with Louisville, Arkansas, and Rutgers at like plus 130 for a little bit of fun.
Hawks money line. They like the dog in that one.
When it hits, it's gonna
Sixers money line. Thunder money line, and T-Wolves money line. They're not going to put they're going to put the Thunder in. Yeah, it's going to be Thunder. NBA All-Star break coming up. Finally get some time to work on a couple things. Exciting.
Time to work on my MLB spreadsheet. My MLB spreadsheet. Yada da.
Next poll.
I love that thing.
I will. Yeah, I'm hoping to finally release it to the public for the first time ever. I'm never on top of it.
Kings money line.
But I'm hoping to be on top of it for the first time and have it ready 2 weeks before the season starts.
Pistons money line, definitely. They didn't like the Bulls. Rockets money line, definitely. Their Suns haters. And Nuggets money line.
I won't lie, I'm excited because I'm going to come to New Jersey sooner or later, within the first couple months of MLB season, and Kyle's going to do me up a real nice MLB spreadsheet. Real nice.
An MLB spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah, the college basketball one came out sick.
Dude, I'm so happy to be back home and really dink around now.
Yeah. Nuggets money line is the next leg. So, final poll is Lakers money line, Warriors money line, and Clippers money line. And if you want to throw in a second place finisher from another one.
Oh, I didn't know TVDBJ. Lots of fucking letters, Vandenbosch. I didn't know he was a seam guy as well. Very nice.
Oh, yeah. Trevor's college basketball and baseball.
Oh, okay.
He's got a picture behind him of Craig Counsell with a big L behind it, or a big L over it. It's just classic.
What was that? What was the first team, Kyle?
Lakers money line, Warriors money line, Clippers money line, and then throw in a second place finisher.
Yes, Goops. I bailed out on baseball last season to lose a lot of weight, you dick bag. Okay. Sorry about it. God. And have time to cap 15 games a day. All right, bud. Had other things to do.
I didn't have time for 15 games every day.
At 100 freaking plus pounds to lose. All right.
Wax says Trevor bounce back day. Yeah, Vanderbosch had a rough one yesterday. He was talking about it.
Yeah, but that's like his first rough day.
That was funny. Capper says, remember when you guys went over? Yeah, every other guest came on the show. Like the community parlay hit. The ski came on. The community parlay hit like 3 times in a row. Ron had been coming up for 6 months, and the community parlay had never hit.
Right.
And it was like playing it. People were like, "Oh, Kabang's on. Don't bet this."
Can't do it.
What's the? Let's figure out the odds.
Capper says, remember when you guys went and
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm just so lost in the sauce.
All right, Celtics money line. We got Thunder money line, Nuggets money line, Lakers money line. It's plus 140. Bunch of risk takers out here. Who's gonna ruin this out of this? I could see
The Lakers.
No, I don't think any of these teams are losing, honestly. Maybe the Nuggets, maybe the Blazers get to the Nuggets
None of these
flat.
teams are losing? All right, I'm going to bet this. See what happens.
Nuggets or Lakers, I'd say, with the two. I find it hard. I like the Celtics.
I actually don't think any of them are losing either.
Juice says, Kabang was on the show today, so fade delay.
It's true.
All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Are there college basketball games on tomorrow, Toast?
Yes.
Let me. Oh, it's Thursday. Yeah. So we got games. So we'll be back at midnight. So tomorrow is the last day before. Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll be back at midnight tonight to talk some college basketball. If you're in the league, you have 1 hour and 38 minutes to submit your picks for tonight. So you have 1 hour and 38 minutes to get your picks submitted. Don't be like Steez and forget, because obviously every pick counts as a loss if you forget. So everyone get those submitted. Talk to you later. Bet responsibly.